Romance of Three Kingdoms Chapter 3. Warlord Dong Zhui usurps the throne, opposes Ding Yuan, and aided by his sidekick Li Su bribes the hero Lu Bu to join his army. What Cao Cao has to say is this. These eunuchs have been a curse since antiquity, he pronounces. We must strike at the leaders, and we must do so stealthily with a small, dedicated force so that nobody finds out what we're doing. Bringing in troops and trying to kill them all will fail, because the others will know what is happening and they'll stop us. I have my own plans, He Jin retorts. And they involve summoning troops from across the land. Annoyed at being ignored, Cao Cao walks out, but not before saying to others. He Jin will bring disaster on all beneath heaven if he doesn't take care. One of the leaders who responds to He Jin's call to arms is none other than Dong Zhui, who had so spectacularly failed to suppress the Yellow Headband rebels. He sends an advance petition to the capital Luoyang, asking to be allowed into the city and claiming he wants to protect the dynasty. He Jin agrees, but many others warn him of the dangers. Dong Zhui hides the viciousness of a wolf under the guise of innocence. Let him in, and disaster will result, says Liu Ji, the former teacher of Xuanda, who has been released from prison after his good name has been cleared following appeals made to the emperor. Keep him out, and order will be maintained. But once again He Jin ignores good advice. Dong Zhui's arrival creates turmoil. Yuan Shao and Cao Cao want to attack the palace and wipe out the 10 eunuchs, but He Jin once again misreads the situation. Responding to a command from his sister, the Empress He, to visit her in the court, he enters the inner court alone while Yuan Shao and Cao Cao are forced to wait outside. It is a trap. No sooner has He Jin entered than he is cut in half by the supporters of the 10 eunuchs. When Yuan Shao calls out to see if he is ready to leave, he is answered by having He Jin's head thrown over the palace gate. Furious at this turn of events, Yuan Shao and Cao Cao storm the palace gates and break in. They slaughter 4 of the 10 eunuchs, while in the ensuing chaos the palace itself catches fire. Attempts by some of the surviving 10 eunuchs to use the emperor, his brother Prince Xia and the empress as a shield fail, and these eunuchs are killed. The leading eunuch, Zhang Rang, and another of the 10, Duan Gui, have seized the 15-year-old Emperor Shao and his 9-year-old brother Prince Xia and smuggled them out of the palace. They manage to reach the nearby hills, but here they are surprised by a troop of soldiers. Zhang Rang is recognized, and the leader of the troop calls out, "Stop, you traitors." Realizing his time has come, Zhang Rang throws himself into a stream and drowns, while Duan Gui is seized. The emperor and his brother, bewildered and frightened, hide, not sure who is on their side and who wishes them dead. Lying in a wet ditch, they evade discovery, and through the cold night they lie wrapped in each other's arms to try to keep warm. Sadness overwhelms them, but they dare not cry for fear they will be heard. Towards the end of the night they also know they must now move on, so, tying themselves together, they scramble out of the ditch, pushing through thorn bushes and nettles. It is still dark, and at first they cannot see a path, let alone decide which way to go. Suddenly a swarm of fireflies appears, lighting the way and leading them to safety. "Heaven has come to our aid," cries the emperor. So they follow the fireflies. Meanwhile, in a nearby farmhouse the master has had a dream. In his dream he saw 2 red suns falling from heaven and landing behind his farm. Waking, he looks out and sees that 2 red lights are shining up into the dark night from behind one of his haystacks, and when he goes to investigate he finds the 2 boys. "Whose family do you belong to?" asks the startled master. The emperor, frightened, cannot speak, but Prince Xia responds, "This is His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor, and I'm his younger brother. We escaped from the chaos in the palace and from the evil eunuchs." The master, astonished, kowtows and then leads the boys to his house, where they are warmed, fed and comforted. Meanwhile, the leader of the troop of soldiers has questioned Duan Gui, demanding to know where the emperor is. Duan Gui confesses he has no idea and is summarily executed by the soldier, who hangs the head on his horse's neck and sets off to find the boys. Eventually the boys are found, and the news conveyed back to the loyal ministers in the capital. Soon fresh horses are brought, and ministers in full array come to escort the emperor and the prince back to the city. As they approach the city, a huge, terrifying army appears in front of them. Heading this vast force is none other than Dong Zhuo, who demands to know where the emperor is. Once again the emperor is frozen with fear and cannot speak. But Prince Xie rides forward and says, "And who are you?" "I'm Dong Zhuo," he replies, and he is challenged again by the young prince. "Have you come to protect his imperial majesty or to capture him?" "I'm here to protect him," replies Dong Zhuo. "Then get off your horse," demands the prince, "and show proper respect. Here is the emperor." Dong Zhuo is impressed by how calm Prince Xie is in comparison to the panicking emperor. When the emperor is reunited with the empress, all seems well, but already, deep in the devious mind of Dong Zhuo, a plan is forming to depose the emperor and replace him with Prince Xie. There is one thing that worries him after the palace coup. Where is the jade seal which the emperor needs in order to be able to issue commands? It is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Dong Zhuo's troops run riot in the capital. Their destruction is terrible to behold, the city is devastated. Dong Zhuo comes and goes in the palace with no regard for the proper protocol. Dong Zhuo's assistant is Li Ru, and it is not long before Dong Zhuo speaks in secret to him, whispering that he is planning to remove the current emperor and put Prince Xie on the throne instead. Li Ru agrees with him and comes up with a plan as to how this should be done. The very next day, at a grand feast and in the presence of the key nobles, Dong Zhuo springs his surprise. "We know that the emperor, as son of heaven, is lord of everything that is below heaven," he says. "But if he is without gravitas, he cannot fulfill everything that is demanded of him by his ancestors. Our current emperor does not have this gravitas, but his brother Prince Xie most definitely does. So I propose to depose the current emperor and place his brother on the throne. Do any of you here have anything to say?" Only one person, Ding Yuan, speaks out. "This is absolutely wrong," he shouts. Dong Zhuo wants to kill him there and then but is restrained by his assistant Li Ru. Ding Yuan flees in order to save his life and to gather his troops. Meanwhile, Dong Zhuo once again demands if anyone has anything to say, and this time it is the old teacher Lu Ji who speaks out against this. Once again Dong Zhuo is only just restrained from killing him. The next morning things really start to unravel. Ding Yuan has drawn up his troops outside the city, and Dong Zhuo leads out his men to do battle. Facing him in Ding Yuan's army is a young man called Lu Bu. He has a golden crown in his hair and is wearing a fabulously colored robe. His sword is decorated with lions and snakes. As soon as the armies meet, Lu Bu charges straight at Dong Zhuo, and Dong Zhuo turns and runs. Ding Yuan's army overwhelm their opponents, and Dong Zhuo retreats and sets up camp. "What a fighter," Dong Zhuo says of Lu Bu, "imagine if he was on our side." At this, a man named Li Su steps forward. "I could turn him, my lord, as I come from the same village as him. Let me offer him your fabled horse Red Hair, plus gold and pearls, and I will get him to betray Ding Yuan and join you." And indeed this is what happens. A poet later described Red Hair. Surging and soaring he travels over 1,000 miles. Shaking the dust off his feet in a cloud. Fording rivers and galloping at mountains. Even the very skies part when he comes. Shaking his reins and his gem-studded harness. He's like a fiery dragon. Coming down from heaven itself. Making his way stealthily into the enemy camp, Li Su finds Lu Bu and says to him, "You deserve a fine master." The wise bird carefully chooses its branch, the wise servant likewise is careful in the choice of his master. And so with silken words and treasures such as red hair, Li Su brings Lu Bu over to Dong Zhuo's side. That night Lu Bu creeps into Ding Yuan's tent. Ding Yuan is quietly reading, but on hearing Lu Bu he looks up and says, "What brings you here, my son?" To this Lu Bu says, "I'm a man of great importance, so why on earth would I want to be known as your son?" Bewildered Ding Yuan asks, "What has happened to make you say this?" Lu Bu gives no answer. He simply raises his sword and with one blow cuts off Ding Yuan's head. At this most of Ding Yuan's soldiers fade away into the night. The next day Lu Bu brings the head to Dong Zhuo. Dong Zhuo is so delighted he bows to the young man. "Your arrival is like dew to parched grass." Lu Bu bowing down before him asks to be accepted into his army. Dong Zhuo is delighted with such a new recruit and presents him with many gifts of great value. Emboldened by Lu Bu's presence, Dong Zhuo and Li Ru decide to press ahead with the forced abdication of the emperor and with raising his brother to the imperial throne. At a grand banquet, with the whole court in attendance, he sets out his proposals, citing ancient precedents from former dynasties and once again threatening death on anyone present who wants to oppose him. It is Yuan Shao who rises, sword in hand, and opposes him. Dong Zhuo is outraged. He draws his sword and advances upon the resolute Yuan Shao. And what happens next to Yuan Shao? You will find out.